Today we are going to be talking about credit card versus debit card. This is an age-old question that everyone thought about at some point. What is the difference between a credit card and debit card? And what are the advantages of using one over the other? Today we will go over the specifics and make sure we pick the right one that's suitable for you. My name is Manu Matthew and welcome to another video. Hope you enjoyed this one and learned something new. Before we get started, it's important to have a look at what each of them are. So a debit card is a card that's directly linked to your bank account. So you can use this card to make purchases or set up direct debits. Every purchase you make on a debit card essentially comes out of your bank account. You need to have the money in your bank account in order to make these purchases. You could only make the purchases up to the limit, although some banks may provide you overdraft, usually at a premium. Credit card is a way of borrowing money. It's essentially where you borrow money from someone and then you pay it back later. It's very similar to lending money, but instead of borrowing a fixed amount, you will have a credit limit, which is the limit of money that you're allowed to spend on a given month or a year. You can decide to spend all the way up to the limit, or you can spend as low as you want, depending on how you like to use your credit card. So that was a basic overview of what is the difference between a credit and debit card. A debit card is a card that you use to spend the money that you already have in your bank, whereas a credit card is where you borrow money and spend it. Credit card have option to pay back at the end of the month. So if you pay the minimum balance or the full amount at the end of each month, you will not have to pay any interest. Let's look into some of the advantages of using a credit card. Credit card is a great way for you to increase your credit score. Your credit score increases every time you spend something on a credit card and you pay it back in full or the minimum balance that you need to pay back at the end of every month. This shows the credit company that you are a good person to lend the money to. So in future, when you want to go get a mortgage to buy a home or get a car lease and you want to borrow money, this will really help you out. If you are fairly young, 18, 19, you should immediately start thinking about getting a credit card, because the smaller purchases you make and that you pay back at the end of the month, your credit score increases drastically. So that really helps you out in long term. Another advantage of having a credit card is you have the flexibility of choosing how and when to pay back the money. So at the end of each month, you can choose to pay back a minimum balance set by the credit card company, which would be a very small amount compared to what you have spent. You can either pay that back or you can pay the full amount back at the end of every month. I would highly recommend you to pay back the full amount if you have the funds available. It will really help you out later in terms of when the credit card is trying to take out money at a later date, and if you don't have the funds available, you might end up paying them interest. Another great advantage that you get by using a credit card, which you do not get with a debit card, is there is a protection available on your credit card purchases, which is known as Section 75. This is available for amounts between 100 and 30,000. So if you make any purchases between this amount, your purchases will be protected. And if by any chance you are not able to get the product or there is an issue with the purchase, you are able to contact your credit card company and get the money back. This essentially makes your credit card purchases like a free insurance on top. So every time you purchase, your purchase is protected against that money. If you're not getting the goods you have purchased, or it does not hold up the quality that you were expecting, you can always contact your credit card company and claim for a refund. This in itself is a great advantage over any debit cards available out there, because a debit card does not provide this sort of protection. Another thing to discuss is what happens when there is a fraud event. So when there is a fraud that takes place in a credit or debit card. So for a credit card, what will happen is the credit card company, when you reach out to them and report the fraud, they will immediately refund you the money first and then do the investigations and do the checks. Whereas a debit card, they will have to carry on their due diligence and checks first. They will go through the fraud checks first and then they determine if they should return you the money or not. It's very likely you'll get the money, but it's a very minor difference, whereas in credit card, you will have your money back first and in debit card you will get your money back after the investigations. Speaking of fraud, when you're walking around with a debit card in your pocket, something to be careful is that you are literally walking around with your whole bank account. So whatever money you may have in there, it's potentially exposed to fraud. So you lose your card, someone gets access to your account details from the card, there is a huge potential that or you could lose all your money. Whereas if you're walking around with a credit card, you only have the credit limit and you contact the credit card company, they will get you your money back. A debit card is much higher risk in terms of you're walking around potentially with all your savings or all your pays that you have got paid. So be careful. Another topic that we need to go over when discussing credit and debit card is that there are rewards available on using credit cards. So credit card specifically offers you rewards just for using the card. So for example, some companies like Tesco might offer you a point on the Tesco Club card just for using the card. So every time you make a payment, your points will increase on Tesco Club card. There are other rewards cards available such as British Airways cards. So when you use that card, you are earning Avios points which you can use towards your holiday, flight bookings, travel, hotel accommodations, etc. Majority of debit cards do not offer any sort of rewards, so there is no benefit of using these cards. So overall, you can see there are many advantages of using a credit card over a debit card. Credit cards offer Section 75 protection, which in itself is like a free insurance for all your purchases, which will really help you if something goes wrong with your purchase. In addition to that, credit cards can be used to improve your credit score. Every time you purchase and make a repayment, your credit score goes up. There are also reward credit cards, which is an additional benefit. Every time you spend somewhere, there is a reward for you. You might get points. Whereas these protection and benefits are not provided in a debit card. Using a debit card or walking around with one is exposing your bank account to the entire world. Although there are some scenarios where a debit card can be used. For example, if you are not great with your money or you already have any debt, it's better to stay clear of credit cards and start slowly by using your debit card and learn to manage money. That way you will be able to only spend the money you have. If you have a credit card and you are an overspender, for example, it's likely that you might end up spending more than you need, and when it comes to repayment you may not have the money. So in scenarios like that, it's better to use a debit card. So there are reasons to pick one over other. It depends on your specific scenario. I hope this video has helped you choose between a credit or a debit card. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was educational for you. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching. I will see you on another video.